Woods Monkey.
Welcome to Woods Monkey. I'm Joe Flowers, and today we're going to talk about Fatwood. Now, Fatwood has a whole bunch of different names. Pine knot, lighter knot, fatwood, fat lighter. It's all the same stuff. It's that resin inside a pine tree when it falls down and is left over. Now, that stuff's really hydrophobic, so it's afraid of water. So that means it doesn't really rot too much. You can find it after hurricane damage years ago. This stuff's pretty cool. It was actually used in frankincense and myrrh. It gives off a really glorious smell. I love the smell of fatwood. And it's extremely flammable. It's made out of hydrocarbons. What are hydrocarbons? That's basically what oil, gas, coal, where the world derives its power from. So it's flammable, really flammable. We're gonna go out and see if we can find some of this today out in the woods. This is a stump hole. This is where you normally find fatwood. This is what's left after a pine tree actually falls. Inside is that vibrant resinous skeleton. There's a lot of dead and rotten logs around it. That wouldn't really constitute as much as fatwood, including pieces of bark that have some resin in it, but they're not really what you're looking for. What you're looking for is the hard stuff in there. So if you take the skeleton, the inside, the heart of the pine, shake it around, you can find that some of this fatwood is actually in here. You can see this. Pretty rotten, but there's still some resin in there. Up here, where it's more dry, is where you want to get your harvesting stuff from. Inside, you can barely see that. There's some resin in there. This is an awesome fatwood, but this is pretty good, and you can use it in a pinch. The moisture in the ground makes some of the fatwood a little bit harder to light, and there's a lot of critters that can be in here. So what you're looking for when you're looking for stump holes is basically a hill, or maybe a divot in the ground. Here's another neat little formation. Finding skeletons like this of old trees that have fallen down, they're a little bit up off the ground, have a little bit less rotting in it. You can see that there's this skeleton in here. We're going to go grave robbing for this little pine, this large pine tree. And, and the parts right here, this really hard parts, are also resinous and full of pine sap. So let's see if we can take off this piece right here. Oh, we got that right there. There's some parts of it. Let's see if we can keep going. Ah, beautiful. And this, you can see the resin that's impregnated in here. Sometimes you'll find a pine stump like this where there's actually no skeleton inside it. That's a reject. You don't want to grab anything out of there. This is a neat piece that we're going to have to bash the heck out of to see if there's anything good in there. You can see it's been at a 90-degree angle there. Let's put the camera down and see what we can harvest out of it. You can see it's really dense. Sometimes you want to actually hit it at the angle where the branch goes. Oh, glorious. This is a really good piece, actually. Packed with resin. People talk about harvesting fatwood with beater axes and with old knives and stuff, or even new knives. It tends to really hurt the edge on them. I use a beater axe a lot of times. I have one with me, but it's really fun to just use a good old solid piece of wood to actually beat it and baton it apart. We can actually get a lot of the pieces that we need without sacrificing our edges. You can break things up into smaller strips such as this and keep breaking them further until you get the edges you want, and then maybe baton or crack those up with your beater axe. Here's an ideal piece that's just left over from when the tree fell down. I already broke off a piece right here, and we're going to break that into smaller pieces too. Let's take a look at some more of these parts here. This piece might actually be pretty good. It's actually a little rotten. How about that piece right over there? This feels kind of hard. Let's check it out. Oh yes, this is ideal. This is what we're looking for when we're going for fatwood hunting. There is a lot of resin crystals in here. Smells wonderful, and it's pretty solid and dense. You can see that the rest of this is also solid and dense. If we lift it up a bit, give it a good wicked shake. There's some more skeletal parts, so there's a lot of good treasure in here. This actual whole piece here is flammable. Oh, there is a glorious piece right here. So, if we wanted to keep going, we could actually get quite a few pieces off of this one piece of fatwood. We're going to go ahead and continue harvesting from this one piece since there's so many glorious pieces around here. Now, just feeling around in the ground, I've found these really heavy, dense pieces. That heaviness is awesome. That's what we're looking for. That means they're packed with pine sap. I've got my beater axe here that I may use, may not. Kind of depends. Oh, here's another piece. We'll use our happy bat to pull it out. Oh, there we go. Look at those glorious pine knots here. Now this piece is kind of dense. Oh, what's this? More treasure. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. We're going to use our happy bat one more time. This stuff wants to break. These little hard resinous knots that almost look like bald-faced hornet nests are perfect. They're great. They're really hard to break up, but we'll go about that later. Here's another piece. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. So we want this piece right here. How do we go about using that with the minimal amount of abuse to our axe? Well, I'm going to go ahead and start a break here. And we'll see if we can continue it with the bat. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful resinous pine sap. Here's some more knots just hanging out here. Got to be careful not to hit your knuckles when you're doing this. This is a good haul. Now comes the fun part, where we're actually taking these bigger pieces and making them into smaller pieces so that we can throw them into small fires or actually harvest them. I have a dedicated beater machete that I don't mind getting dinged up with the fatwood. I also have a beater axe. They're kind of handy too, not just for fatwood. I leave them around the campsite when I'm kind of worried if, say, a younger kid actually goes around and chops with it and misses with the handle on the axe and maybe breaks the handle. No big deal on my beater axe, whereas I'd be kind of particular about my $80 axe. This is a small piece. You can see the skeleton is kind of elongated here. It's not one of these larger big chunks. You can chunk this up as well too, being careful watching your fingers, of course, and break up these smaller pieces going with the grain. And you can have smaller chunks that you can light. Using the back sometimes helps. This one probably not as much. It's going to be a little bit harder. Oh, that one broke off. But you can see some of these smaller pieces you can harvest. You got these longer pieces of fatwood. You can break them up to into smaller pieces as well. So what do we do with these big old honking chunks here? Well, they're kind of harder to break with your machete. You might want to start using your beater axes or your even larger axes. You can do it. This stuff explodes when you break it because it's elongated, or it's because it's really, really dense. But you got smaller pieces there. Breaking this up might be a problem. You could sit there and you can baton it, and even with your big happy bat, you could baton all day and you might not get anywhere. Now you can see it comes from pine, so it looks a lot like pine, but you can see the canary yellow color right here and some of that darker amber color. Amber actually is pine sap that's undergone a process where it's hardened over thousands and thousands, in some cases millions of years. We could show you how to break this stuff apart further by using your beater machete or beater knife, whatever. Knife that you don't really care about ruining the edge on, because it can happen with this stuff. This stuff is dense and it goes everywhere when you break it apart. So you're going to be gathering all your small pieces up from the side of the stump too. You can go apart and break this stuff even further into smaller pieces. It's not hard. We'll go about other ways of lighting this stuff and other more advanced features of the sap later on in a later episode of Woods Monkey.